Trademark Esports taking on Complexity.
What do you know? And I had to say we were, making some predictions about, who was going to win and how many games and whatnot. And I don't know, but I will say I have a good feeling. I wouldn't be surprised if it does go to the full, 5 games. I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yeah.
So either way, I'm excited because we get to cast, very, very good heroes in Neuworth, top-level heroes in Neuworth.
Best of the best.
I've had a great time this weekend casting this. I'm sure you have as well.
Of course.
So.
Hopefully you guys have been entertained with that said this weekend. I mean, I said that at the finish of the last cast, or the last series that we just casted earlier today, with of course, Complexity defeating State Green 2-1 and another great series. Out of 3 series we've casted this weekend, all 3 have gone 3 games. So here we are entering a best-of-5 grand finals. It wouldn't surprise me if we end up going 4, if not even a 5th game as a result of the play here. Again, we have 2 of the best teams arguably going out of here, tdM versus Complexity. This is a rematch of the last cycle grand finals, of course, where tdM did take out Complexity, and it was basically 2-0 as a result of the format being a little bit different. But this time around, here we are. In fact, game number 1 has actually kicked off. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're good to go. Let's go ahead, jump into game number 1, Trademark Esports taking on Complexity Gaming. Let's take a look. Woo, so this is it. They're already in the locking phase. tdM Legion side, Complexity on the Hellborn side. Once again, Complexity, so this is kind of interesting. They are coming off a little bit of momentum, you can say.
Sure.
They did just defeat State Green 2-1. At the same time, it was a fairly long series, basically 4 hours to play 3 games. So it's the good and bad in that sense. Like, how would you look at it, Truff, as a player?
I think it's better for Complexity, having the experience, being fresh, being all warmed up. Not to say that tdM isn't, because, of course, it is 6 hours ahead in Europe, and it's, 10:30 over there for most of the players. And so they've, probably played some games today, been warmed up as well. But I think it does favor just a little bit of Complexity. I don't think it hinders them at all.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, we were talking about actually, best-of-5 series. I guess the maximum games we could have is 4, correct? Because tdM can only, they have to win 2.
Well, okay, technically this is game 2.
Correct.
It just sounds so weird, though. This is a first cast, so I just like to say, it's a 1-0 series lead for tdM, but this is game 1 technically. So whatever you want to look at it, it's here and there, whatever. Tomato, basically. No. But anyways, this game right here, you look at the lock. In fact, we're going through this pretty quickly, and I'm not that surprised. And these 2 teams know each other very well. And obviously, tdM especially, they've been waiting around for a while now. So here we go. The Blind Bands, how do we kick things off? So Blind Bands, Parasite Ophelia from tdM, Keeper of the Forest, Wild Soul from Complexity. Nothing too crazy there. Lockpool, Tempest into Retrodac Tundra. Then there's the Silhouette Draconis being locked up by tdM, and then Pebbles actually to finish things off. So, well, Draconis, he was 3-0 last series as a result of SG versus Complexity. So,
seen some different things coming out in the log pool as of late. Not as many suicide heroes, to be frank. There's only 1 jungle, basically kind of 2 suicides if you consider both Tundra and Hag to play that suicide role. And that's not as typical, like I was mentioning. Normally we see like Bubbles, Plague Rider, Tempest, Ophelia. Obviously with lots of junglers being banned, that kind of takes it away. But even Warbeast being banned right here. Let's look at the bans actually. Warbeast, Jeraziah, Legionnaire. So 2 jungles already in the regular banning phase. Demented Shaman, Fade. So right now the only jungler available, I guess I should say traditional jungler, because you could do some interesting things, is the one that's in the lockpick pool, which is that Tempest. So we had a similar situation actually yesterday when we saw tdM versus Stay Green in Game 2, where that could be, or it should be, a clear indication that Complexity is going to have to man up with some kind of tri-lane or 2 different dual lanes plus a suicide.
Yeah, very interesting actually. So again, depending, and maybe they have something else, crazy jungle strategy that we don't know of yet, though. But it is going to be, of course, in Trademark Esports' hands to first pick right here. Next to him, of course, the captain. He is right-clicking a Plague Rider.
Yep.
Who is open on the board to be picked up. So, obviously, thinking about the possibility there of going Plague Rider. And, of course, nothing would be too wrong with that by any means. Could be a very solid option, whether very likely could end up being, of course, your suicide role.
Yeah.
Especially with that lock pool, as you've stated.
I would do the same, honestly. Yeah, they were right-clicking the engineer, thinking about that a little bit as well. Both would be fine picks, but I think Plague Rider just suits them really well, especially if they are going to get Tempest first out of the lockpick pool. You're going to have that double deny. You're going to have the really good synergy between those 2 ultimates. But Engineer obviously was a contender as their first pick as well, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Complexity pick him up.
Yeah, something like that. Engineer Magnus could be a possibility here for Complexity. So we'll see what B-Kid values. Again, he's coming off as is all of Complexity, coming off that 3-game series against State Green, and was an epic series. Like I said, just took over 4 hours basically to play the 3 games, but they did eventually defeat them, of course, 2-1, which is why they're here in the first place. And on that note, real quickly, it is going to be Aluna Moraxis. Again, a very strong combination there as well. But what they're playing for here, so with 1-0 series lead to start things off for tdM in this best of 5, they're playing for, it's 4,000 points for first, 2,500 for second, and the same thing in dollars. So $4,000 for first, $2,500 for second. So it's a good 1,500 point / dollar spread there between these two teams, and especially with the points point of view. Not only tdM won the first cycle, so they're already that much further ahead of Complexity. If they happen to win this cycle, it's even going to exponentially grow. I mean, it's just going to get to a point where it's just going to be they're going to secure first place early on in the cycle. So if you're Complexity especially, you want to be careful not to let that get too out of hand. So they could really use a serious victory here. Of course, easier said than done.
Yeah, well, there still are a number of cycles to play.
Of course,
this is only number 2. And there will
8
be
total.
tons of time. Yeah, exactly. So, but obviously, of course, this has put him in a great position. Engineer, I thought for sure that'd be a snap pick, and actually a Flux. So we're going to see that Flux Engineer combination. Very strong, very fun. And look at the ultimates they have already, just the 3 heroes that they have chosen. Plague Rider, Flux, Engineer. Synergized quite well. Complexity took a page out of tdM's notebook, I suppose, by playing that Moraxis Aluna. Not to say that they're the only ones that do it, but they do favor that lane quite a lot.
Yeah.
And that's most likely going to go mid. It could also go in the short lane, but it is a very strong lane to be paired up. So for that reason, we probably will see that mid. Now the Silhouette and Draconis, I find that kind of interesting, and I think that's going to favor. Actually, did they ban? And Andromeda's picked up yet again. I love Andromeda. I love Andromeda. And it's the same situation as we had last game, where it's before the potential Tempest pickup, which is probably going to happen right here. I mean, look at that. You have Tempest, Flux, Engineer, Plague. How much better could it get as far as team fight?
Oh, yeah.
Well, Andromeda is going to be a good tool against that.
Well, and then it goes to, you're stating right there with the Silhouette Draconis being there. So there's the Tempest pickup finally from Minus for tdM. Now it's back to B-Kid. You got to figure out one of those carries. It is going to be Draconis as their carry of choice, and you're thinking Tundra here as their final option. And yeah, that would definitely make sense. I mean, Moonmander again, he plays a very comfortable Tundra, and they could really use somebody for that. Well, I guess.
See, if you pick Tundra on paper, you could be like, okay, Suicide Tundra, it's not the best, but it could work. But I think you can man up with these heroes. I think you could try lane, especially, they go Wretched Hag, so that even tells me more that they're going to go man up. Well, I don't know for sure, but either way, Silhouette, of course, was picked up. I think that was pretty obvious for tdM. But look at that, with Andromeda, Aluna, Moraxis, if they go something like Solo Draconis top and a short lane, Wretched Hag mid, and a tri-lane to roam on that Tempest, which you can do with heroes like Aluna, like Andromeda. It's very effective. I think Complexity should man up here and go in the long lane with a tri-lane like that.
We'll see, and are we going to... Okay. Franzi was still on Draconis there. We're like 3 seconds left, and I was like, oh, God, here we go again.
Yeah.
But no, they did swap it at the last second, and it is good to go. So... I brought that we were actually talking about this in between the after the State Green series. Draconis did go 3-0 last series. He won the first game with Complexity. The second game won by State Green. Obviously they had Draconis. Third game Complexity had Draconis, and sure enough won. Now, again, it's sure Draconis did his part, but I don't think it's it's obvious that you pick Draconis, you win the game 100% by any means. But it's just kind of a fun stat to look at from the previous game. So, anyways, obviously in the Complexity's hands right here. So. They got to be pretty excited that they got that.
Now, they're going to go the safe route. I mean, Wretched Hag is already running down here trying to place this ward aside. Going to be successful in doing that because it's only Silhouette down here. You can't really force him out with just that Silhouette. Lanes are pretty obvious as well from tdM. That going to have that Suicide Plague Rider who can't get that ward down just yet. Rushed up there, but Complexity rushed up faster. And is going to be able to block this pull, or at least guard it, I should say. And they're going to have that pull to work with if they keep, zoning him out. And that's going to be very effective, especially, and it's especially important against a Plague Rider who has that deny ability. Not to mention they're going to have double deny. I don't know if they're going to use 2 up top, maybe 1 mid, 1 top, as Tempest is kind of floating around the mid lane. So that's probably what they're going to do. But being able to secure that pull, double stack it, get lane control, this is very, very important against a Plague Rider.
Yeah. So a lot of friendly back and forth chat going on here between these two teams. It's kind of fun because in moments like this, you'd figure level 1 Conquerors maybe being attempted and trying to distract them. Yeah, exactly. You see Moon right there. Nope, but no level 1 Conqueror happening So not going to have to worry about that. But yeah, the landing phase you mentioned, so they are not going to man up. It is going to be the Draconis Andromeda up top in the end, Moraxis Illuna mid, of course, and that means Wretched will be the suicide option. And you've stressed time and time, you're not usually the biggest fan of a suicide Wretched Hack. Granted, if it's in the hands of Zai, he seems to be able to do wonders with it. But Zai being in this game, of course, it is in the hands of Moomiander, though. Again, Moomiander, a great player himself. But Zai has definitely proven that he can really play that Suicide Wretched Hack very, very well. So interested to see how Moomiander does. He'll be matched up, of course, against Noob G on the Silhouette down here. So, but yeah, Flux Engineer middle, that's going to be a lot of fun to watch, to see how this kind of works together. And I would assume, I mean, it definitely, Flux can do some good damage with that release once he gets that leveled up.
Yeah.
So good kicks on the pull in as well, and you can get some good damage output.
I talked so long about how they did a good job of defending the pull, but then they didn't. Franzi actually, he walked up past the creep wave to try to maybe tank it a little bit, putting some pressure onto Plague right now with a very liberal stun, as you should do with Andromeda early on, especially when you have some mana potions to regen. But Plague did swing around, actually. They had full vision because they placed an early ward up here by Franzi to scout it out, but he did eventually get that ward off to block the pull. So they're going to have only one pull to work with. What you can do is still pull it and then pull it again into the hard camp, which is actually stacked right now. But you can only do that once. So, yeah, I feel like he could have done a little bit better job defending that. Maybe stood around there and waited for Plague and put a couple stuns into him before he tried to ward that, and probably could have defended him off. So unfortunate right there. But yeah, dual lane mid versus dual lane mid, this should be pretty interesting.
Yeah, it always is. In a sense, you do have technically a double range Flux and Engineer. Now, granted, Flux's range, it's only 350 until at least he starts leveling up that polarity swap, which earlier on he definitely doesn't tend to. So, yeah, like I said, it's technically a double range, but at the same time, it's not your typical like a Forsaken Glacius by any means or something like that. But still, the kill potential is most certainly there. Like I said, with Flux, the release, once he gets maybe level 2 of that release, it's some good burst damage, and on top of the combo from Engineer, you will need to be careful, especially for something like this Illuna. And speaking of Illuna, she's actually going to pick up the double damage from bottom. Bottom lane, Silhouette going at it with Wretched Hack. They're going to go balls to the wall right here against one another. Who's going to get the kill first? Wretched Hack manning down at the last second. And actually, Noob G is very, very low. Wretched Hack did use the health potion, canceled by the Archer, though. And that could prove to be big. He will pick up a Ring of the Teacher from the side shot, but Noob G knows he's still in trouble. But he's actually activates his own health potion, and he will be fine. Meanwhile, back to the middle lane. Flux being comboed down. The Keck and pushes Moraxis forward, actually, but Flux will fall. Not the greatest Keck placement, honestly, but the double damage of Luna most certainly doing work right there. Beacon picks up the Bloodlust kill, and there you go.
Yeah, good job for them. I was actually watching the bottom action still, and Moomiander ferries another health potion for himself so he can stay in this lane. And good man up right there, but he understood that even though it was a level 1 Relentless Salvo, it still was proccing enough damage to kind of contest Moomiander, even though he had the better jump and had that level 2 haunt applied. But yeah, good job using that double damage rune. It's probably the most effective rune you can get at the 2-minute mark. That's definitely for sure.
Oh yeah, it's very, very powerful. And again, as we said, now I was watching the sequence, and it seemed like Insania's Keck stun. Unfortunately, it wasn't the greatest placement. I said that because instead of pushing back Moraxis to help save Flux, he actually pushed him even more into Flux. So it was a case of like here get even more damage out. So kind of unfortunate there. I mean, he might have still died in the end. Obviously, Illuna with that double damage was still pounding in, but just a smaller thing right there to look at. But Flux and Engineer did show a little bit of their damage output themselves at the same time. So expect it to be a pretty entertaining middle lane, and continue to be, I should say. Yes, obviously already getting a Bloodlust kill as a result of it. But right now, I guess you can kind of compare farm in the sense of Silhouette to Draconis here. Draconis is 22-9, Silhouette is 18-7. So obviously Silhouette was involved with the Wretched Hack for a while, but Draconis does have the better start so far when looking at creep farm overall, but very, very close at the same time.
Top lane, you actually did see Franzi. It was what I talked about. You pull your medium camp, or your main camp, I should say, and then you pull it again with the hard camp. If you time it correctly, it will pull that lane. But you can only do it once. And actually, if you see the ward, some action there in the mid, actually, Vika's getting kind of tied up there around the creeps and whatnot, but he'll be fine for now. But he actually placed that that ward of revelation. I don't think it spots out the ward that Zaya placed, which is very far to the right. And I gotta say, still, like, they had full vision of him when he was placing that ward. He could have seen exactly where he placed it. And I feel like he should have known that just a little bit better. So, and unfortunately, a miss, well, I guess so you can call it a sort of misplay right there. Or a mishap, I should say, coming out right there.
Now, I wonder if this kind of has been coincidence, but it's been twice now. In fact, there's a Keck stun. It will hit Moraxis. A very good Keck stun from Insania, but the haste rune activated from Moraxis. He had bottled up. and he easily gets away right there. So a good idea, but especially with that haste rune up, you were not going to finish him off. So good getaway for Beacon in the end. But I was going to say, I wonder if this is coincidence, but before that, Kex, on the previous two, it kind of trapped Beacon in this little hole right here on the Legion side, right next to the ramp. So I will kind of wonder if they're trying to take advantage of that, and maybe like they have a strategy where you can get them like caught there with the creep wave or something. But
I don't know.
like I said, it might just simply be coincidence, but I don't know, something crafty. This is an odd combination, not something you usually see, of course. Release is going to be used with there, dodging the Kex on his more access back. He may go back in now. Andromeda is here. Kamasan going to hit Engineer, but at what cost? Tempest running in, actually. Tempest does have an ultimate, not even going to be necessary, though. Pulls him back in, does Flux, and gets the counter kill onto Beacon in the end. So, well played, and actually Tempest coming in at a pretty good timing right there.
Yeah, well, look at Minus. Look at what level he is. He's level 6. 340 gold per minute. Obviously, that kill assisting a little bit with that, but this guy just knows how to jungle, and he jungles very effective. I've been more impressed with him than anyone as of late, as far as the jungle is concerned. And comes in there with the kill, has his Ring of Sorcery, pops it right there to give his teammates some mana, puts some pressure on the tower. He's doing fantastically.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I even mentioned he has an ultimate ready to go, but I didn't even think about that until you said he's level 6. Wait, you're right. He is level 6. Very good start for him, and obviously not getting the middle tower kill, but at least applying a good amount of pressure. And now back to the jungle he goes, and they're going to continue to increase farm even more. Andromeda has been here, but now Luna comes back into the lane, actually with an illusion rune picked up, so Andromeda will at least act like he's going to start falling back and maybe roam around a little bit more, and he actually is. So probably just going to stack up some jungle camps here for eventually, of course, Draconis to go into. And speaking of Draconis, he's going for some auto attacks against Plague Rider, despite being below half life. Obviously, Plague Rider doesn't have any mana currently, so he's not too worried about a threat of a nuke coming out. So good pressure being applied there from Haxrin. And once again, taking a closer look at the creep farm, it's pretty much even between Silhouette and Draconis. They both are sitting at currently 37 creep kills. So, again, neither side really having a pull-away advantage by any means when you look at it from there.
Right. So. Yeah, the big thing is comparing a jungle strat to a non-jungle strat, and it is 1-to-1, so it's a little bit more passive play, and it always favors the hero or the team that has that jungler, and especially when it's Tempest, who farms ridiculously fast in the jungle. So right now, as you look at the numbers, tdM does have a pretty damn good lead early on in the 7.5 minute mark.
Yeah, they do, and obviously, again, big part of that because of the minus playing that Tempest. So Flux and Engineer continuing to go at it here in the middle lane against this Luna Moraxis. And actually, you know, talking about the kill, bottom lane, it looks like there's some action. Tempest ultimate gonna pull in Wretched Hag, and Silhouette easily doing enough damage with all that time to work with. So good gank from Tempest, and now the bottom tower push gonna come out. So Moomian on the Wretched Hag, just unfortunately not able to blink away in time. Coming out of the jungle right there. A vulnerability is actually going to be used very early on. They want to mitigate as much damage as possible. And we'll see if they actually commit to this tower push. No, it doesn't look like they are. Tempest is going to go back into the jungle. He is low in mana. So not going to be getting a tower kill, but hero kill happens, and actually Ghost Marcher's now finished on Noob G, actually.
Yep.
Playing the Silhouette, so.
That's his trademark item. Get it?
He plays for trademark.
Ah.
I get it. But I was going to say, so back to this middle lane, though. Let's look at Flux and how he's doing. I mean, 28 and 16, 29 and 16, 22 and 12, or 22 and 2, I should say, Moraxis. So Flux is definitely winning in creep farm here in the middle lane, and obviously having the assist at least for the kill. Good news, too, despite him also dying early on.
Well, the thing here as far as comparing CS is you have basically 4 decent farmers on Legion team, whereas you have 3 on the Hellborn. So Moraxis, Wretched Hag, Draconis, they're all getting some, pretty good farm, but then you have 2 supports that are really getting, close to nothing. Yeah. Especially that Andromeda. The keg stun happens onto Moraxis. Oh, good stun there. And actually the Q, I don't know what that's called there from Flux. The release spell is missed, but a really good job there by Chessie.
Yeah, that green stun, it definitely disoriented Flux, and I wonder if that was even, the release was so delayed because of that stun. He just wasn't expecting it. But anyways, misses the release, and Moraxis easily gets away. So good support coming out from as you said, Chessie. I almost said Franzi there, but nope, that is Chessie. True enough, playing the secondary support once again. But you talked about, just the spread of farm overall, and obviously it's definitely in favor right now, better for tdM when you look at the big picture. And Tempest leading the way with that, actually at 345 gold per minute, so it's still continuing to be very impressive. Already Ring of the Sorcery boots picked up. We'll see. He is known for going a different style of build. I mean, we sometimes see him go the bottle route and into early Astrolabe tablet even, so we'll see what my nuts on Tempest this time around decides. You think a portal key is priority, or is it not necessary early on for Tempest.
It's
here.
not necessary this game early on. Obviously, you're playing up against an Andromeda. But the way this game is going, you might even get a portal key before Andromeda hits 6. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, he does get levels a little bit late on Andromeda. I said, like last game we saw him, he did get levels quite slowly, and I feel like you could just be sitting up here soaking. Like Draconis doesn't need all the levels in the world early on. Like obviously, yes, he's a carry hero, and you want to get him as much farm as possible. But Andromeda is such an integral part of your lineup too. I mean, all your supports, every hero is, and they all need an equal share of at least levels. Maybe not farm, but at least levels. So, yeah, he's not getting the levels that he needs at least at this moment. And like I said, all the time, when you have a jungler and the other team doesn't, you're basically substituting that jungler for another support. So level 9 Tempest, level 10 Tempest, just dinged level 10, my god. Top farmer in the game compared to Andromeda or Luna, level 4, level 5, with basically no farm. So this is why jungles are so popular and why they usually work.
Yeah, and this also all goes back to the drafting. I mean, the fact that they banned so many jungles in the blind ban, he locked up Tempest, and the pool didn't have any other jungler in it. And then eventually he banned the Legionnaire and the Warbeast, I think it was, in the next banning phase. So it didn't leave Complexity with any option, any legitimate option at least, as far as the jungle option goes too. So you're kind of forced to run more of a 2-2-1 setup in that sense, but. Yeah, and obviously it is hindering them as expected.
This is why I thought they should have just tri-lane. Like, they have a fantastic lineup in order to tri-lane and roam on the jungle with Andromeda, Luna, plus whatever. Like, you'd have Miraxus free farming the bottom lane. At the same time, you'd be shutting down Silhouette. Like, you can't roam. Oh, actually, we see some initiative. Whoa, no one was around.
I think that was a misclick.
Probably a misclick.
Pretty sure that was.
But Engineer, like, if Engineer roams down here to help out Silhouette, Silhouette can't do anything against a tri-lane with Luna and Andro roaming around. Like, that simply won't work. So it's basically shut down Silhouette, at the same time complete free farm from Miraxus. You have a Wretched Hag against Plague. That's a pretty even lane. I mean, you can argue who ends up winning in that lane. But then you have a solo mid against a dual lane. Well, whoop-de-doo, that happens. And I just think it would have been much better because you could also put pressure on the jungler.
Yeah. Oop, portal key actually just purchased on Tempest. So we talked about that. He does hit the portal key. A level 4 Andromeda still. In fact, Andromeda's going to stun Plague Runner right here, who was invis, but a Water Revelation, of course, exposing him. Tower goes down, energy field going up, but at what cost? Engineer will fall. Wretched Hag being careful. She blinks away before the release hits her, though. And that'll easily help keep Moomiander alive. Beacon thinking about maybe making a turn right here. But Plague Runner, who actually stayed invis the whole time. He never even came out of it, despite even getting initiated on in the first place. So in the end, it ends up being, well, ward bitch for ward bitch right there.
And the tower.
And
Minot's got the tower.
Oh, yeah, the tower kill. Actually, no, did anyone die on the Hellborn team? No, nobody died. So, yeah, it ended up being a tower kill for Engineer right there. So not bad for tdM.
Not when Engineer's level 6 and already has boots.
Yeah.
And a couple wards on him, so he's already doing fine. He's got levels. He's got some semblance of farm at least.
Yeah, and like I said, though, I mean, Tempest just purchasing that portal key right before that fight started. Obviously, it still has everything up, but Andromeda's now, she's just at level 5, actually, so you were right. I mean, you don't even have to necessarily worry about the threat of a quick swap from Andromeda, just yet at least.
I was thinking, herp derp, of course Tempest needs to get a portal key, because even though you do have the Andromeda swap, obviously, look at the combination they have. I mean, I don't know why I didn't comment on this, but, the Tempest portal key plus maybe a Flux gets a portal key and an Engineer on top of that, Plague on top of that, so yeah, it just seems natural and very obvious. You do have that swap to work with, but you can actually still get Andromeda, even with her being far back until she hits that level 11 mark, when you actually have a little bit more range on that swap.
Well, now you got to remember, too, as you just said, I mean, Flux could screw up Andromeda if she's like trying to set herself up to.
Yeah, that's what I mean, exactly.
Yeah, to set up a swap, then all of a sudden she gets pulled in and she actually gets caught by it as a result. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the whole idea, of course. So
that means she has to stand really far back.
Extra far.
How far back can you stand before you have to walk for 4 seconds and then cancel the ultimate?
Yeah.
And that's why she really needs the levels, especially level 11.
Well, Haxoran continuing to farm away, as, again, Draconis does. He's actually cleaning up, I believe those are even triple stack Ancients here. Andromeda, of course, assisting. Draconis is now level 11, actually. So Tempest has been doing very good in levels, but actually Draconis has taken over the top in the game as experience per minute goes even, as well as being the highest goal per minute, again, at 411 goal per minute. He is going to have a nullstone here very shortly. So despite things overall looking a little bit better for tdM, you do have that Dragon, who is the best farmer in the game, and it is showing early on. So Definitely some strong news there for Complexity. And Beacon, on the other hand, for Moraxis, his farm has actually been hindered quite a bit. I mean, he's only just barely sitting above 200 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone else for that matter. It's Draconis, and then it completely drops off.
Yep.
For the rest of the team. And that kind of goes back to, again, what you were saying earlier with especially the dual support.
Well,
they're, of course, handicapped, so.
Look at Plague. Plague basically has exact same CS and gold per minute as Moraxis. This is the Suicide Plague who has an Astrolabe, boots, and a Ring of the Teacher, and a TP. So Zai doing really, really well up in this top lane.
Yeah. Very well indeed. So yeah, tdM, no doubt, in the more comfortable position. Just surely you got Armed Dragon, but in the end, you have a very strong team fight, obviously, and things just are connecting a little bit better for you. So your Silhouette in the meantime, as the Blessed Orb Life Tube combo is going to finish that Sustainer here shortly, I'm sure, and then, of course, get the earlier on Null Stone. Flux is just still going away here at the middle lane. He has yet to move. I mean, I find that interesting because Flux is. Obviously, we don't get to see Flux too often, but to me, he seems like he can be one to be a pretty aggressive and, roam around, whether it's using his global ultimate or just simply his W to set up kills. But at the same time, nothing wrong with just farming more on him and at least maybe getting that portal key.
Yeah.
Which is actually probably what we're going to see here.
Yep.
So.
I mean, I think it's for good reason. He's sitting here and farming. It's not really being hindered at all. In fact, they've basically won this mid lane with the roam early on from Minuts. So he has his portal key now just purchased. He has his ultimate. And this is when you can start to see that combo coming into effect.
Yeah. So Beacon, despite his GPM not being the most impressive, he actually does have 1,500 gold saved up. So Portal Key is definitely in the works for him as well, as the Steam Boots bottle on top of it. So pretty standard there. But you mentioned the Portal Key just purchased on Flux, and it looks like they're trying to set up something at the top lane. Both teams are, in fact. Luna needs to be a little bit careful right there. She got charged up. She does have a double damage room, but it doesn't make you invulnerable by any means. So, she falls back, and the tower will actually be denied right there by Tempest. Flux just continuing to push the middle lane. He is exposing the fact that he does have a portal key. I guess just not too worried about that right now. And will instead just continue to farm. So looks like we could have had action there at the top lane that's coming together. But in the end, tower's denied, and both teams will fall back for now.
Yep, and Plague is not going to take the bait here at top, and they want them to go up, wants Plague to go up there. Try to do something. Obviously, Intro has her swap now to work with.
Ooh, very nice tree grapple stun right there from Noob G. Hitting Wretched Axe. She gets pulled, though, by Flux. She will be porting out, but if they had another stun, that was a good attempt right there from Flux, maybe to try to set up another stun. But obviously, tree grapple was already used by Silhouette, so not able to stop the TP. But as you see right there, of course, the TP isn't stopped as a result of the Flux ulti.
Wouldn't that be Imba if it did? When actually I first saw Flux come out, I thought that it did. I was like, oh my god, this ult is just insane.
Well, the thing on that note, though, just like any other global, kind of like Thunderbringer too, if you get like a Frostful Skull, it will actually apply the debuff to people when you use your ultimate. So
yes.
And actually, that's actually a reason why, sure, that's definitely more of a luxury item, of course, but Frostful Skull could definitely be seen picked up on a hero like Flux, so.
Yep, absolutely.
Down the line. But yeah, of course, make a priority on that portal key, which, again, he does have, so, like I said, not afraid to show it. What does his ulti do when he levels it up? Okay, so it reduces the cooldown and, I guess, more pull radius, or the units that they're pulled, a little bit longer, so. That's definitely important for him to get that leveled up, of course. Flux using one of his illusions over here to harass Andromeda, who, by the way, is level 6 now, so does have that swap to use if necessary. Yeah, again, though, it continues to be more of a passive game as this game advances on. Can't seem too surprised on that, but nearly 19 minutes into the game, it's really the same story. You have a Draconis who continues to be on top, but it drops off from there for Complexity, where tdM as a team just looking more impressive. Moraxis does have his portal key now, though. So, again, his farm has actually picked up solid. He's 250 now, GPM himself. And Draconis, wow, he's going to clean up another set of triple stack Ancients. And, no, excuse me, Andromeda is here to assist. Flux is running on over, actually. Wow, he's going man mode here. He's just diving into the Ancients. He doesn't even care about the Hellborn team being here. He's going to try to steal them, and that's exactly what they'll accomplish. They at least snipe out a couple right there.
Engineer got a few.
Yeah, so Draconis, he will clean up at least one there at the end, but hey, Complexity, or tdM, they went ballsy and it kind of paid off there.
They did spot out a ward, actually, as the top tower, or sorry, no, the bottom tower gets destroyed by Noob G. I thought it was the top one. But they did spot out a ward that was going to block the Ancients after that. So
yeah.
I wonder if this counter ward actually will block it. I don't think it will. It's pretty close, but I don't think it will.
Well, obviously we'll see here at the 20-minute mark.
But tdM is slowly out farming and out leveling complexity at this moment, and they have triple stack ancients of their own, which aren't getting warded, and it does actually block them. It might have been a corpse.
Might have been a corpse, yeah.
Because I wasn't seeing exactly when it was killed, so it must have been after that 37-second mark.
But yeah, here goes the triple stack ancients by the leading team as you're talking about, and actually Tempest looks like he's the one going to be getting him a majority of the farm, or at least trying to actually engineer. Even takes a couple right there, so spreading it out a little bit, but more and more farm is the name of the game nonetheless. You mentioned experience per minute, they're also out leveling, and it definitely shows in the XPM chart, of course, so pretty similar sort to the GPM chart. XPM just in favor of Trademark Esports and looking pretty solid for them right now. Another 2,000 gold saved up on Tempest, already having the Mighty Blade, by the way. So, again, he is on his way to a shrunken hand. Now, that still goes back to the fact that you are dealing against an Andromeda, and, of course, the swap will still be able to stop you, but it will make it a little bit more difficult, at least, and also with the combo that they have, it goes back to also just the flux and being able to pull them in, and maybe you can still catch Andromeda because of that, so. And Flux is getting close to level 11 here, but yeah, still have not been able to see the combination in work yet. Especially with a hero like Flux, it's just awesome when it comes together, but not yet for Trademark Esports, if at all.
Yeah, I would love to see that combination. It's a thing of beauty, it really is. Now, Engineer is not really anywhere close to his portal key, and that would be really cool. But basically what that combination is, you have Tempest jump in first, and you don't have to actually even really aim for heroes, so to speak. You just kind of like aim in the middle of everything. So if you see a Miraxis in the front, you see like, you know, Hag sitting behind him a little bit, a Luna's off to the right, and even if you couldn't catch all of them in your ultimate, you just kind of like ulti in somewhere in the middle. And then Flux just fixes that problem for you on his own. Like, you don't have to worry about it. He will take care of the rest.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, it's again, it definitely is exciting to watch. Silhouette does have a portal key now picked up herself, so they do have the 3 portal keys. You talked about the possibility of Engineer getting one. Would be cool. In fact, speaking of portal key, jumping here from Flux onto Aluna, but Aluna does have support nearby. You see a turret's going to be used. Flux really wants this kill, but he's not going to get it in the end. We pull it back in, and he will get it, so he did use the ultimate right there to guarantee the kill. In fact, there's a drop that Tempest ultimate, locking down Wretched Hag, and Wretched Hag will fall as well, so the portal key is coming to play big time right there for Trademark Esports, and now they're going to push as 5. They have 2 players dead, of course. So you can question maybe a little bit on some cooldowns used, but they got them 2 kills, and they're going to push the tower now.
There's nothing wrong with that, especially early on. It is still only, I mean, considering how much farm mainly tdM has, it's still only 22 minutes in. Yeah, so using spells early like that is just fine. Look at that tier 2 tower drop. Double damage is still active onto Flux. And my God, they have a huge lead right now, and they have the much, much better team fight. Look at Minuts, level 15, 430 gold per minute onto the Tempest. He now has his Shrunken Head up and active. And I gotta say, if he gets a Null Stone too, there's absolutely nothing that can stop him.
Yeah, then that's the god tier right there for him for sure. So, and hell, at this rate, it wouldn't surprise me. He really is farming pretty damn crazy. So. Yeah, you know, Ken, being liberal with those ultimates, especially early on in the game, nothing wrong with that, so it gets them a couple of kills. Draconis is going to lead the way here in the middle lane. It looks like Complexity, they kind of maybe feel that they are behind, as they definitely are. I mean, 10,000 gold lead, 11,000 experience lead in favor of Trademark Esports right now. They may need to make something happen. Shrunken Head was just delivered to Draconis, so it seems like this is being planned out pretty well here from Complexity. You see Flux sitting in one of his illusions, of course, going to be taken out. Now, Tempest ultimate obviously is down. The discharge is back up. It is a fairly short cooldown, only 80 seconds there for Flux. But the middle tower goes down nonetheless, and Complexity will at least accomplish that. So, solid response there coming out from them. And actually going to start running into the jungle now. And there's a lonely engineer down here. Insania is farming by himself. He needs to be a little bit careful about that. He's going to go over to the side. He's going to TP, though. And he'll be fine. Yeah,
he has a little bit of vision. They actually placed a defensive ward. No, sorry, that's Complexity. So he actually didn't have vision, just had the idea that they were down there.
Spider senses. They're going to group up here at the bottom lane, and as 5, they are going to push again. So Complexity getting in the mindset of just group and push, I guess.
Yeah, I think they're running out of answers. They know they're getting completely out-farmed. I mean, just look at levels. Obviously, you do have Axerin, but like you said, it totally tapers off after that in both experience and farm.
Yeah. You see the visuals tell the story right here. The goal per minute and the experience per minute chart. The damage chart on the other hand, not too bad. That doesn't really matter though. The DD for the tower at the bottom line is going to fall. Now they do get a top tower kill in the meantime for tdM, but Complexity again, as he said, the answers may just be running short, so kind of even a desperate mindset here of, well, let's just group up, push, and hope for the best. Draconis He is level 16, man. He's level 16. He does have his core items, you could safely say, and the Nullstone Shrunken Head here. Of course, he doesn't have the extra damage output now from something like that Savage Mace, but yep, still will be able to do plenty. And you have more access, level 11. He's got his portal key, of course. He's had it for a long time now. I don't even know if he's actually used it yet, though. And actually, Wretched Hag, I believe she has, well, she at least has one Arcana and a Steam Staff purchase towards the next. It still is a little bit of ways off its Moon Meander from the Hellflower, but they wait for the creep wave there. Now going to push this bottom tower, but here we go. Port is coming in. Is that Flux? Yeah, it is. Flux is gonna jump in with the PK. He ported in with an Invis, actually. Oh, this could set up beautifully here for tdM if they execute this. In fact, there's a jump right there on Draconis. He's going to be released on right on top. Miraxis with the counter. There's a Shrunken Head pump, and the counter is all about the pull right there. Where's Tempest? Finally, the Tempest ultimate happening, but Draconis is still one alive with that Shrunken Head up, and he's going to fall back to swap out on a Tempest, by the way, so that got stalled. Now Tempest will fall. Aluna going down. Still 3 are up here for the Help One team, though. Draconis barely alive, but he'll survive in the end, so I mean, honestly, that just seemed like not the greatest execution from tdM or so.
Yeah, it was pretty damn sloppy. They need Tempest to just jump in first. Just jump in with that Shrunken Head, use that ultimate, and Flux ultimate after that. And they had the early initiation, I believe it was from Silhouette.
Yeah.
And it just didn't go as planned. Like I said, they need to execute this these initiations just a little bit better. They the Shrunken Head, you know, Draconis, he was dishing out a lot of damage, I gotta say. And that fight was definitely won by complexity. You used some big ultimates and 2 heroes down compared to the one who was a 1 hero that died is the lowly Chessie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
For him, but fortunately for his team.
Draconis, this dragon, man. He was 3-0 last series, and as grim as things have been looking for complexity, is at least in the last 5-6 minutes or so, with you know, the leads and everything for tdM. But we saw a fight right there. I mean, perfect example that if he can manage to get that Shrunken Head up and stand his ground, Cataclysmic Assault will do the rest. He does have a Slayer now purchased, so of course he's on his way to a Savage Mace, and you do see they're going to triple stack the Ancients once again for him. So he'll just go down here. Chessie going to assist on Aluna, and he'll just clean these up. So some more good news for complexity right there. And yeah, but I think that really just ultimately goes back to just tdM not having the prettiest. It seems like it was going to set up beautifully. I mean, he had an Invis Flux ready to go. But just wasn't really able to combo it as you would like, despite that. So Draconis is going to clean up the triple stack Ancient, and again, you look back at the goal per minute chart, now up to 540 GPM, and getting closer and closer to finishing that Savage Mace, which makes him obviously even more of a threat in those team fights to come. Shrunken Head will be finished on Silhouette most likely going into that next team fight, though, into a next team fight, however. So she'll at least have that, and then actually have a Shrunken Head finished on Flux. I don't know if we mentioned that, but. And by the way, there's also a portal key on Plague Rider.
Yep.
So they have 4 portal keys now. An Engineer, if he manages a farm, could very likely go on, but obviously he's not necessarily prioritizing that. But they have 4 to 5 portal keys, so again, the initiation, the jump, and the execution chance is definitely there. It's just about putting it together, actually, for tdM.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, they're still in a fantastic spot. They have the better team fight. They have the awesome ultimates. Shrunken Head is going to be up on Silhouette in just 1 creep kill. You'll have that to work with, and you do have the Hellflower up on the Hag, which is going to be good, specifically against the Shrunken Heads. But like I said, if they just, you know, fine-tune their execution and their initiation, then they'll be fine. They just need Tempest to jump in first. Maybe even Silhouette can jump in first as well, like he did. But having the ultimate happen from Flux first, it needs to be the other way around. It needs to be just Tempest jump in their hole. Like I said, you don't have to initially really catch anybody, honestly. Just as long as they're very, very close in the area. And then, like I said, Flux will fix the rest.
Yeah. I'll see you next time around. All the ultimates are pretty much going to be up here. Tempest ultimate just coming off cooldown, actually. So the Elemental Void is ready to be used. Draconis continuing to just pick up farm wherever he can, now in his own jungle, and again getting very closer and closer to that Savage Mace finish. Miraxis is still picking up farm, and Beakid has recovered pretty nicely, as has Moon Meander for that matter, playing this Wretched Hag. I mean, he is actually getting very close now, finishing his own Hellflower, as Beakid is also working on his. So they could possibly have a couple of Hellflowers going into this next team fight if things are delayed enough. And you know, it really shows you complexity of persevering here, and what it seemed like tdM just gaining some good lead, which again, you look at the lead, it still is definitely, most certainly there for Trademark Esports. But we are going to start seeing complexity getting a little bit more powerful themselves because of the lack of, I guess, push and team fight even coming out from tdM right now. This is buying time for complexity.
Yeah,
even better.
I still can't get over the fact that you know, under level the supports are in complexity. I think that's a big thing for them.
That's true.
like I said, you basically have two, not really ward bitches, but two hard supports in Luna and Andromeda. They have nothing. I mean, they have a little bit of build-up items as far as their farm is concerned, but Andromeda is very low level. You only have one hard support onto Legion, and it's insane on Engineer, and he's already level 11 with better items than you. Obviously, they're in a much better position with more tower kills and whatnot, but Andromeda really needs some levels. Luna not so much, but Andromeda definitely does.
Well, Complexity again. Savage Mace just picked up under Draconis, and immediately they group up at the bottom lane here. Tempest is nearby. Wow, he's shrunken heads right there. Oh my gosh. So he found himself in a very bad spot, and he preemptively shrunken headed. I don't know if that was even necessary, but he really wanted to make sure not to get caught out there. But of course, that's on cooldown now.
I mean, right there it looks bad. I can't believe you wasted it, but it could have been a very, very close initiation from Miraxis, and you don't want to get bursted down as Tempest. You were like very integral in this lineup, and he can still initiate without a shrunken head.
It's not, that's not like that changes anything in the end. Yeah, because Andromeda obviously can still swap through it. So in that sense, I guess it's not the biggest deal.
I mean, but, you could still swap or stop it from like a stun from a Luna or a push from Draconis, but it's still possible. I mean, if they get any bit clumped up, any bit. They can get a 5-man ulti with Flux and Tempest.
Oh yeah, easily.
Like right there, I even would have done it. Right
Flux,
there.
It does seem like this is a pretty good timing. They are pretty damn clumped up. Again, we got to think of the minus. They're going to jump Flux, actually. Flux going to be bursting down right there. He doesn't even get off his ulti. Look at the Cataclysmic Assault in the background. Coming up from Draconis, putting in damage on the Engineer. Engineer will fall. He gets on the energy field. But Complexity is, the buybacks are happening now. Complexity on the run. There's the Flux pulling. There's the more pulling on Miraxis. He will end up falling. Draconis still doing plenty of damage. The tower will fall. There goes Plague Runner, and there goes a jump from Silhouette. Now Draconis is forced to fight, and he will fall after he gets pulled in. Luna barely ports out, and Andromeda also going to barely port out. Wow, they somehow escaped there at the very last second. So there was the buyback used by Flux, of course, in the end, and that was the only buyback used. I don't know. I mean, Complexity win man mode there, and initially it definitely worked out, but
yeah, the buyback was huge from Flux. Even then, still he's using his ultimate just terrible times. Like, they just need Minus to jump in there. Like, I thought that was perfect, jumping in with initiation like that onto Flux. Like, if they had just Tempest maybe even just run in there and ulti right on top of him, and then Flux would have had enough time. I mean, he did have Hellflower, and it's kind of iffy. He was pretty far up, and that was actually a very, very good jump by Complexity. But when he bought back, too, I just feel like these ultimates are just happening at very awkward and weird times, and they could be synergizing their ultimates much, much better than they are. Nonetheless, Noobg lived. He's still farming very, very well. Haxford, despite the fact that he died, look at his farm, 570 gold per minute. It's pretty crazy. And he went man mode. He was playing like he was angry, too. Yeah. He was just, like, not letting up one bit, and did eventually get the kill on the Engineer, but Engineer did get his ultimate off right before he died, and that actually paid dividends.
Yeah, I think that definitely did, because when he then started to turn around and run away, I mean, I'm pretty sure he even got purged by it and slowed, and
yeah, he did.
Obviously, that started up the follow-up from the Legion team. So, yeah, initially it definitely was looking pretty there for Complexity with that Draconis charging, going man mode as he was, as you put it, but tdM did hold it off. Sure, buyback used, but buyback, very good buyback nonetheless. And very necessary at the same time. So I will say, Trademark Esports lineup, as pretty as it would be and as most dominant it would be for this lineup to just put it all together with their ultimate synergizing. At the same time, it's not like it is an all-in lineup. It's not like they need all that to come together for them to absolutely win this game. They still have a very, very farmed all-around team, and you still got a Silhouette who's again doing very well on her part. But of course, putting it all together would just make it even easier, and well, guarantee you, I guess you could say, but. At the same time, Draconis, even bigger. He now has a Whispering Helm here, so he's got the lifesteal attack modifier. And we know what that can eventually bring to the table. Obviously, once you upgrade that really to the similar raise, that's where it definitely starts to do work. Yeah. At this point. So they're going to push the secondary middle tower, and it's not going to be stopped by tdM. And unless we see a vulnerability here, maybe they're going to go for it. Oh, yes, they are. Tempest jumps in, actually deactivates the Null Stone. He's trying to chase. Flux pulls him in. There's the Tempest ultimate that we're talking about. Luna will be pulled in. Draconis taking a good amount of damage, but he'll turn around now. Cataclysmic Assault is activated, and Cataclysmic Assault is doing work once again. Draconis doing so much damage. Flux will end up falling. Silhouette's trying to get the kill. The illusion will fall, though, and now there's the kill on the Tempest. So Flux and Tempest are currently dead. Draconis is still alive. Wretched Egg and Luna are the ones to fall, so it is a 2-for-2 right now. But if I'm Complexity, and in fact they got the tower on top of that, feeling not too shabby there.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, Draconis is living, and he's dishing out a lot of damage. He's playing pretty well, but The Bat Blast hit nothing. It hit absolutely nothing. It hit a shrunken head activated Flux, and then he blinked in after that, aggressively chasing a Plague, and then got turned on. Like, I'm sorry, but Moon just did not do anything in that fight. And that is not a hero you can afford to miss, skills like that and not be effective. I mean, Hag really has to play a role in these team fights. Now, there's still in an okay spot, but obviously look at the experience lead. It's still creeping up pretty handily for tdM. So they need to make sure, that they hit those spells.
We did see a beat of, I think that was the best initiation we've seen so far from tdM, but still, it definitely wasn't enough. I mean, the Tempest Ultimate, it was solid, and I think it was, for the most part, full duration. But even with Draconis getting caught, he was taking minimal damage. He had his Shrunken Head activated, so obviously that mitigated some. But he more than easily survived, and coming out of that, again, he pressed R and started turning things around. So really, they just definitely could use that coming together here for tdM to actually, have a lot better time in these fights. But at the same time, as you pointed out, Moon Meander on Wretched Hag may not have had the biggest impact there. Now they're trying to do Kog'Maw, doing it fairly quickly earlier on. But tdM, they know something's up. They're starting to head over. In fact, Insania coming over on Engineer. He puts a turret down. You see the stuns on it. Draconis, actually. Silhouette's going to take advantage. And Draconis is in absolutely a lot of trouble. She's going to try to get out. There's a Cataclysmic Assault. Trying to do enough damage in return. It's not going to be enough, though. He will fall. Luna off to the side. Moraxis with a regenerate, actually. He's running back. The push forward on Andromeda. Not sure what that was about from Flux. Wrong form. But actually, Andromeda may still fall. Wretched Hag trying to save her. It's not going to happen, though. She will eventually go down. Tempest in the meantime over here. Draconis does buy back, by the way. He's ready to go. And they're ready to go for another big fight. There's the stomp coming out from Moraxis. Tempest will fall. The illusion Silhouette will die in the end. But the real Silhouette, of course, getting away. So buyback from Draconis right there. And this could actually get them Kong'ra now as a result of that.
That was really unfortunate. I think he just got stunned over and over from Kong'ra. And I don't know exactly where Franzi was that fight. I was just waiting for the defensive Andromeda swap to just kind of save him, but he wasn't in the area. Maybe he was doing something else. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what you got to do too. I mean, Andromeda is a very good tool, especially against Tempest and canceling his ultimate, but it's also a fantastic tool in saving your teammates. So, like I said, I'm not exactly sure where he was, but he needed to be there to help prevent some initiation onto that Draconis as he was getting stunned unfavorably by Kong'ra.
Yeah, that did suck. That definitely did suck, and obviously set that up, but. And maybe it was a blessing in disguise. I mean, sure, he had to buy back, but not only did they turn around the fight in the end, kind of, but they also get Kong'ra in the end.
Yeah.
I mean, and now he has a token of life. He has another 1,800 gold just like that saved up. He's going to do double stack Ancients here. So the GPM still, by all means, in a very, very favorable spot here for Haxorn on Draconis, as it's nearly 100 gold per minute higher than the Silhouette is remaining to be, at least. 5,300 gold saved up on Noob G, by the way. So very possibly going to right-click that Savage Mace, I would guess. 5,400 is the cost. So we'll see once it gets to that point, but going to have some Ancients himself.
Did Tempest have the Nullstone last fight? He did, yeah, because I remember hearing it go off after. I was like, okay, the Nullstone goes out. Wait a second, he has a Nullstone? So he hasn't. There's the Savage Mace in full for Silhouette. But yeah, the Nullstone up on Tempest. I feel like they're making this way harder than it needs to be. Like, this initiation is pretty foolproof. I mean, you just jump in, press your ultimate anywhere in this vicinity. If they're any bit clumped up at all, then you have the Flux initiation. He is level 17 now, so it pulls, what, 800 units or 700 units? 700 units. Which is a big, a long range. Yeah. And I think they're making this way too difficult on themselves. But now it cannot be countered. You cannot do anything against it with that Nullstone up on Tempest.
Yeah, he has that combination. So that's where it gets very dangerous now for complexity, of course. So sure, that it may not have been the greatest so far. Whether that's because Vandra's been there to swap or just not the best execution from tdM, but. Knowing that, I think even more so now is going to really put tdM in that good spot of, okay, now we can put this together. But still, you got, as simple as it may sound, I mean, you still actually have to execute it in the end. You can't screw that up. So, and if you do screw it up, Draconis stays alive and he's able to press R and sit in the background. We know what happened. So. He has another 3,100 gold saved up, by the way. He has 4.5 minutes just over that remaining on the token of life. So we'll probably see him purchase another, maybe even upgrade that Whispering Helmet to Symbol of Rage and then look to push using that token of life if the time allows for it. Did I see a purchase? Nope, never mind. Tablet of Command picked up by Luna, by the way, so she's got that. Of course, they have the double Hellflower, have had that for a little bit. between Wretched Hag and Moraxis. Over to the Legion side, some interesting item pickups, or I guess worth mentioning at least. You got Storm Spirit on Plague Rider now, so got one of those to work with. A Beastheart actually picked up by Flux. Kind of curious about that. I guess eventually the Behemoth's Heart, but
yeah, probably
Beastheart for now.
Your W does scale late with your when you have more health, or is it more?
I thought it was more strength.
Is it strength? It could be
strength. Yeah, 120% of your strength.
Well, obviously you do get a lot of strength when you do complete a
of course,
heart,
yeah.
So.
Yeah. When you get to that point, and of course he has a strength hero on top of that. Being a ranged strength hero after all. So we'll definitely get some benefits from that. But at the same time, it's the Axe and the Malphite, not the cheapest of items. It is a little bit off from that. Silhouette, another 1,500 gold saved up. Already the Savage Mace finished herself, so. Back to more of a farm game we go here between Complexity and Trademark Esports at this point in time. And there is the Axe and the Malphite purchased by Draconis. So Symbol of Rage is going to be finished very shortly here on him. And like I said, that's probably going to be the cue to make a go. They have just about 3 minutes now remaining on the Token of Life for Draconis. So got to get that. Apparently we have a restroom break here, but get that. Make the push happen.
Yep.
This... I feel an epic fight coming up, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty fun so far. I'm just still waiting for that good combination of ultis from Legion. Like I said, I think they're making it a little bit harder than it needs to be. That being said, Complexity's making them...
I was going to say, can you give credit to Complexity at the same time for making it difficult on tdM, or do you really just feel it's been
No, like,
TDM's
I've been
fault?
watching the openings. I've seen a number of different spots and situations where they could do it. And like I said, you don't have to, okay, before you got the Null Stone, you maybe have to worry about, if Andromeda is really, really far away or something like that. But at that point, she was only level 6. Or sorry, her ultimate was only level 1. So she didn't have to be that far away, just a little bit out of the area. And I saw a number of situations where he could have just blinked in. Like I said, you don't even have to ulti something, just around the heroes.
Yeah.
And so that they're like, either side of your ultimate, then Flux comes in and fixes that problem. But now that you have a Null Stone, there's really no excuse. Like, you find any kind of good opportunity at all, and it is uncounterable. There's nothing that they can do about it, except maybe push out some teammates. But then again, that person with a push book, which is only Andromeda, is probably going to get sucked in too. So it's, yeah, I mean, Complexity is playing it well, and, the Dragon is pretty tanky and not exactly the easiest target to take out, especially if you do go, start the initiation with that Shrunken Head activated up on the Dragon.
Yeah.
And it makes it a little bit more difficult, especially now with the Token of Life. But yeah, I do think it's more on the side of tdM just not finding the right times to go.
Yeah. Well, like I feel a big fight brewing up here, and then if anything, a big opportunity for tdM to show us that they can actually put it together here with this synergy. So apparently, Complexity is back and good to go. Waiting on tdM to give the call, and then we'll be resuming here in what is technically game number 1. But of course, it is a 1-0 lead so far for tdM, coming from the winners bracket in what is a best out of 5. So no matter what happens here, we will at least be having one more game, is the important thing to note. So yeah, we'll see. As again, a Symbol of Rage is going to be delivered here. He has a Token of Life for just over 3 more minutes. Probably going to get that delivered, make a push. Well, we'll see where they push. I mean, actually, no, there is an outer tower up top here, so they could maybe try to go for a top and finish that one off, or just go for the bottom and mid instead, and start breaking into the base. But at the same time, that goes back to tdM's lineup, and it's a very dangerous team to push against. It's Trademark Esports because of that just massive team fight potential and what you're running yourselves into. So even though you have a Token of Life, I guess maybe not as confident as you are maybe against other team makeups. So apparently, Plague has 200.
I want to ghost and say he only has 75, but I don't think it's my place to do that.
Yeah, that is a lot of denies, though, that said. I mean,
yeah.
58 for Flux. It's actually quite a bit.
Yeah, limp the wimp, man.
Limp the wimp. Limp the wimp. I mean, it's one thing to have denies in the laning phase, but once you're out of the laning phase, I mean, you don't get nearly as much, of course.
Right.
But that's actually pretty solid amounts. Granted, Plague Rider will be extinguishing constantly, so. Anyways, Symbol of Rage, there we go. There's the right click. Draconis has it, and like I keep saying, 245 and counting now on the Token of Life. Wow! Engineer gets his portal key. He managed to get the farm for that, so we have a 5-man portal key team over here. Not often we get to see that in competitive HoN.
It is pretty damn cool. Now let's just see if they can actually get this initiation correct.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is a little
Keeps
bit more
going back to
it's
that.
a little more difficult now that Draconis has the Token of Life, and it actually, to be honest, it makes Andromeda's life, it sounds funny, a little bit easier, unless they're able to somehow get that Null Stone off of Tempest before he jumps in there, which is nearly impossible. You can't count on that at all.
You just swapped Draconis.
You swapped Draconis, yeah. So it makes his life actually and his decision making a little bit easier in that sense.
That's a fair point. Plague Rider is pushing the top end in the meantime, so despite it looks like Complexity is going to start knocking on the door here. Right now, there is no Plague Rider just yet, so I'm going to be a little bit cautious about that. Although Zai is porting in, it looks like, and here we go. The pull in. The Sugar going to be his own marks. He jumps in. Flux going to be the target first. Flux going to be pressing down. Tab is ultimately going to go off right there. Again, he cannot be swapped out. Will they swap at Draconis? Yes, he'll swap at Draconis, but he gets pulled in actually by Flux, who buys back. Draconis barely alive. The Similar Rage trying to keep him alive, but he'll fall in the end. Again, Token of Life going to bring him right back up. He did not, or he did use the Similar Rage, excuse me, but he's back up. Silhouette dropping quickly, but Draconis being the focus fire. 4 of the 5 are up now. 5 are up for tdM right now as Tempest does buy back. Draconis will be person down. The release going to be used. Regidag may fall, trying to kill Silhouette. Will get the kill to Silhouette, but is going to fall in the end. It basically is a genocide coming out right there for Trademark Esports. Chessie did buy back on a Luna, but it's at that point it's like that was just kind of silly, really. But all 5 are up for tdM. I mean, look at the buybacks all across the board being used throughout all of that. But tdM, they have the numbers right now, and they're going to counter push.
Yeah, and actually NoobG buys out right away, and they know that Draconis probably doesn't have enough for a buyout, having just purchased that Symbol of Rage, and this could be Rax. This is really bad for Complexity. And that was Lim's second buyout, but it definitely paid dividends. I mean, look at that when that ultimate came down and dragged him back through the energy field of Energize.
The Flux ulti was huge.
Yeah, the Flux Engineer ultimate combining, and it was a huge buyout from Lim.
Well, there's also the very questionable decision by Draconis to use the Shrunken-Headed symbol before the Token of Life was used.
Yeah, I agree
and
too.
that, you can always look at that as probably shouldn't have done that.
Well, to be honest, that was actually a really kind of catchy play by Complexity by jumping in there and they annihilated Flux. Like, they annihilated him. But then by the time the rest of the team jumped in, it was too difficult to back up after the buyout that Limp used. And, yeah.
Well, Draconis is going to be coming up in 5 seconds, and the rest of the team pretty much up as well. Of course, so the damage is done. However, the counter push successful. They take out the middle racks, both the melee and the range. The top tower is going to still remain alive here. The outer tower, that is, going to be pressured by some creep waves, but probably should stay alive in the end. But yeah, Complexity, they had a good chance. You are right. I mean, they really did burst down Flux, and if it wasn't for that buyback, we could be talking a little bit different right now. But the buyback from Flux and the ulti for Flux, the discharge was huge because, so you mentioned it, pulling them through the energy field is one thing, but actually it was a funny timing. Again, I'm pretty sure this is 100% coincidence, but Andromeda swapped Draconis from the Tempest ultimate right as the Flux discharge was used. So she literally swapped, and then she got pulled in further, and then Draconis got pulled into the final seconds of the Tempest ultimate, and then he was still in a bad spot. So again, the Flux ultimate I think was really the biggest part there in the end. So great buyback from Limpy. Granted, he is out of buybacks now, but look at this Complexity. They know that they are continuing to be behind and need to take chances, so they're going to push back out in the middle lane. And they're going to once again try to break into the base here. They know Tempest Ultimate is actually coming off pretty early here, though.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, well, they don't have Tempest Ultimate, but oh my god, they do. A lot of time was allotted in between, in the last fight and now.
Jeez, look at the Spider Mines, by the way.
Where are those?
7 Spider Mines just on top of the tower. Those are level 4? Yeah, level 4 Spider Mines. That's 300 damage for each, so whoa.
Okay, that's nice
the Warlock, almost.
Nice troll.
That's what, 2,100 magic damage coming out right there. And in a radius, too, so let's see if there's an 8th one I should put down, so 2,400 down. Hope they're doing my math correct.
We can do math!
Just showing off a little bit. 8 times 3. All right, so Draconis, though, he's just standing his ground again. He has beautiful items. He's got the Shrunken Head, Symbol of Rage. This time, no Token of Life, but again, Complexity, they are the case. They do got to start taking some chances here, perhaps, so this is exactly what that is. Will they be able to break through? Now, not only is this decent creep clearing on the Legion side, but they all are also going against bigger creeps because of the melee and range track. So I don't know if this is necessarily smartest choice.
I don't think it is either. I think it's kind of reckless, to be honest. But
Here we go. Moraxis jumps in once again on the Flux, but there's that Storm Spirit. Tempest ultimate going to be pulled in. There's the Flux ulti on top, and that's exactly what tdM was looking for. Draconis holding his ground. Similar range use. It doesn't matter, though. He'll eventually be bursting on, playing his best around. Silhouette doing so much damage in the background. Tempest may fall right here, but again, the damage has already been done. Moraxis going to explode to the mines right there, and Tempest will survive. See Insania with a little bit of smack talk there at the end with the piece, but Luna's going to pour it out. tdM, though, they hold it off, and another counter push coming. Draconis again cannot buy back. This is going to be even more damage now for Trademark.
I think that was just reckless and just kind of frustration on the part of Complexity. Like, they had no right in pushing in. They knew. I mean, maybe initially they thought the Tempest ultimate was on cooldown, but after staying in there for quite some time and trying to fend off against the creeps that are, stronger than theirs, they should have known. Actually, he was at Moon Meter, gets caught out right there, and he's going to get bursted down from the combination. So much damage coming out from Silhouette now with that Savage Mace. And he will fall. This tower's going to get backdoored right here pretty quickly. And, yeah, I think Complexity is just frustrated at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think there's any way to really, any other way to explain that. Like I said, it's one thing to safely assume that maybe the Tempest Ultimate was still off cooldown initially, but when you're there for 30+ seconds and before you even look to initiate, you got to know what's up. And so I think it's safe to say that was the first time we saw tdM's lineup really come together. I mean, that was the beautiful synergy that we were looking for from Trademark Esports, and it did wonders as expected. The top tower going down, the melee racks falling very quickly. Draconis is up in 2 seconds. Jesse trying to delay it as much as possible, making a kill right here. No, Flux is going to be fine. And actually, Luna may fall. Yes, she will as a result. Draconis, the big dragon running in, though. But he's going to be slowed by the turrets, and that will be that. So they sniped the racks, got what they came for yet again. And Trademark Esports is going to retreat. So Complexity, I mean, they continue to be in a case of, well, they need to just go all in here, take a big risk, because you ain't going to win more of the passive game now.
I mean, their only window right now at this point is to kill Flux immediately and then fight the fight 4-on-5, because they know that Flux doesn't have any more buyouts.
Well, they should at least, yeah.
Yeah, they should. So that is their only kind of way to kind of, go into a team fight, at least right from this point. But even then, I mean, look at the lead. That tdM has 30,000 nearly in experience, 23,000 in gold. And they just have too many items up on too many people, and not to mention there's just the superior team fight. A Storm Spirit now is purchased on Insania. So, yeah, this is just getting kind of overwhelming at this point.
Silhouette has actually more damage than Draconis. I mean, usually you're so used to seeing Draconis with that Cataclysmic Assault, and especially the farm that he's having on top, but it's a very small amount, but 22% to 21%. So Silhouette really doing work here. Noob G, of course, playing that role. Now, you do see the Flux Ultimate used right there. That's more of a scouting purpose. Wanted to see if they're doing Conquer. Of course, it does reveal vision of everyone when you use it. So Conquer is going to fall, though. Okay. I mean, Complexity will get to work with at least another Token of Life in Bananas. No Bananas yet. Just a Token of Life. Going to go on Draconis. And that'll be the key. Let's see if that is going to be enough here for Complexity. Yeah, Wretched Egg actually forced to the top lane. He's cleaning up more ranged racks from being destroyed. Has a pretty good regen, though, so probably should be fine. But
lots of friendly banter this game, it seems like.
Both teams voicing their opinions, apparently, on some things about the game, but hey. Draconis level 24, Silhouette level, well, how does I say that? Level 25 now. So he is, of course, maxed out. So
the one thing I will say about Complexity in general, well, I can't say that this game, because it seems like they don't draft Engineer as much, and Engineer seems to be so integral in many teams. Like Stay Green drafts him a lot, tdM drafts him all the time. They value him very high. And when they picked up initially Moraxis and Luna, I thought for sure it was going to be Engineer plus X, like where X equals
I was going to
Moraxis or Mag, And I mean, Luna's great, but right now in this metagame, I just think that Engineer works fantastically. This hero, not to say that you pick him, it's auto win, but he scales so well to the late game with all of his spells.
Yeah, it is interesting to look at it from that perspective too, kind of the hindsight, where if they did go something like, say, even Moraxis, Engineer Magnus, I mean, you get a little bit off there. It's at a point where it's like, why even talk about it? But obviously, you see tdM and what they've even ran this lineup if they didn't have the chance to get Engineer. Maybe not. So maybe they wouldn't have gone to Flux, and how things may have been different from all of that. But obviously, that's just all hindsight, and still, it could have been bad in the end for Complexity. So it's just fun to kind of bring up as we are more of a dull time here. Once again, now 51 minutes in here. So Token of life, what are we looking at for there? 5 minutes still remaining on the token of life, so still plenty of time. He also does have a buyback, but you got to say, okay, is he going Doombringer?
He must.
He's going Doombringer. What did he sell by the? Okay, he did buy a Doombringer. So I was gonna say, why save up for buyback, especially when you have a token of life? Just go all in here. Just go for something big, and that's exactly what Haxman did right there. So.
Yep.
I agree with it. I do. I mean, why not? So, why not? Here we go. Draconis is going to be hitting insanely hard here.
Well, like I said, their opening is there, and it's on that Flux, who, by the way, went a very weird route. Has a Beast Heart, Ice Brand, and now a Blessed Orb. Obviously going to go make that Frostwolf Skull. But, yeah, like I said, that is the opening. You can't go on anyone else because you have to assume that they have buyout, which they do.
He sold his Nullstone, by the way. I was trying to figure that out.
Who? Draconis.
Did, yeah.
Okay, I see. So he has no Nullstone now. Not like it's not the biggest deal in the world. They don't really have a sheep or a Hellflower or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it will cancel or will not cancel now the Flux Ultimate.
True. That's actually true. Now, granted, I think it's always been canceled like before, it seems like. But
Yeah, with just the Flux Magnetic Pole.
yeah, whatever else. All right, so Draconis hitting hard, 560 maximum damage. That's, of course, with help from Andromeda. And always going to be pulled in. Okay, need to be careful. Don't want to get it jumped on, and then, okay, I'll start. You want to be the ones initiating, if anything. So, again, maybe jumping on that Flux. Granted, he is pretty damn beefy, nearly 3,000 life right now. He's kind of exposing himself. It's almost as if he wants them to jump in, but Complexity's not going for that just yet. The tower will fall. And look at the top lane in the meantime, because they got to kind of worry about that. So, or do they? I mean, do you say, screw it, we need to go all in here? Andromeda, is that an illusion? That is. Okay, I was going to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they pretty much know that you have to be. I mean, you have to be all in here. You can't worry about your base at this point. You just got to go for it. Of course, tdM definitely has that same mindset. They know exactly what's going on, so they're going to try to let the creeps do work, but also play it pretty safe right here. In fact, there we go. There's a jump out of Flux. Will it be enough damage? There's a damage. The Storm Spirit going to come out there. Cataclysm is all activated, and the Shrunken Edge Draconis doing work as expected. The double Storm Spirit coming out. Flux being locked down, and Flux will be bursted down. No, he's going to stay alive barely. Tempest in the background as we see Wretched Egg blanket in. She will eventually fall. Draconis diving big time, but tdM playing very passive here. They are all falling back. Morax is now taking a lot of damage. He activates the Arcane Shield, but it's not going to matter. He will eventually fall. Draconis still full life, full mana. He actually runs back, but look at the base. So I like what tdM did there. If anything, they just delayed everything that's going on, knowing that they had that top base push. Now here we go, running back in. Draconis going for Limp once again. Look at the kill right there. The Cataclysm got solid again. So much damage. The spread here from tdM, though, is going to be enough. Kama-san, however, the Silhouette's in a lot of trouble. Silhouette will get bursted down. Smackdown ton on top of that. And she does, of course, have a buyback, though. That is her last buyback. But look at back at the Shrine, and vulnerability is going to be a Tempest ultimate, locking out Draconis. Silhouette pounding in damage. Draconis very likely going to fall. He has a simple range. Can he get it off and out? No, the Savage Mace doing work right there. Token alive, bring him back up. Look at the Shrine again. Very, very low. Coming back up to Draconis. The Tempest ultimate locking him down. He has a symbol, but he can't use it. Yes, he can. No, but the Sheepstick. And he will fall, and that will do it. GG. Trademark Esports will take game number 1. Oh, that was a fun finish, man.
It was.
Draconis, he could definitely kill them there if he was able to get off that symbol of rage. I guarantee you that. But he was not. Good lockdown.
He did get it off, actually, but the sheep, I was talking about, it was like, just before coming in that fight, I was like, well, it will cancel or Limp can still use his ultimate, but they don't have like any kind of other kind of lockdown thing like Hellflower Sheep. Well, they did, and it was on Sai. And I've got to be honest, I'm pretty sure he would have taken them all out if he didn't get Sheep right there. I'm pretty sure he would have.
Draconis will do that, especially with the Doombringer Savage Mace. I mean, he will tear you a new one. So, wow, oh wow. I mean, definitely a very entertaining finish, but in the end, you look at the whole game, tdM really was in the favor for most of that and, deserving of the victory, obviously, in the end. Granted, we're a little bit concerned by the execution. It seemed like there were times where it's like kind of scratching your head, like, seems a little bit should be a little bit easier to get the initiation going, but near the end, it finally started to click together, and they pull through. So the Dragon, Haxer, tried his best on Draconis to hold them in there and make something happen eventually, but tdM does win it. So where we stand, best of the 5 series, but Trademark Esports is now up 2 games to nothing over Complexity, and obviously that is a big deal because, well, that means tdM needs to win 1 more game